Morning.
Good morning.
Mary and I look at putting together a service. The first thing that we do is we pray. And we look around in our world and we say, what is going on right now? What is going on in your life? What is going on in our life? What's going on in the life of the church? What's going on in the life of the country, in the world? What's going on right now, and how can we maximize that? How can we tap into that? What is that trying to tell us? And how can we utilize that to make something different or something better? Right now, you don't have to look very hard to see that we simply cannot do things the way we used to do them. Governments are figuring that out. They borrow today and spend it like it's water, and eventually it'll pay for itself, or at least we can keep pushing that debt back. We're hitting debt ceilings that say you can't do that anymore. We got to do it different. Our healthcare system, we look at that and say, wow, we can't do it that way anymore. We got to do something different. Schools, education, even the housing market. It used to be the dream of Americans to be a homeowner, to say, I own my spot. Right now, the battle cry of the homeowner is, I wish I could get out of it. It's worth so much less than I owe. We can't do it the way we used to do it. We have to do it different than we used to do it. And that isn't a message of bad, that's a message of good, that's a message of hope, because as long as we're just trying to keep putting Band-Aids on stuff, it doesn't change. It just gets pushed off till tomorrow. It gets pushed off a little more, and when we see it coming, we duck and we hide and we cover, trying to avoid it for another day. But when it reaches that point of saying, I can't hide from it anymore, I can't avoid it anymore today, I need to change it. And that's what's going on in our world. And that, to me, is a dawn of a new day. That is something worth rejoicing about, because we've been trying to get there for a long time. Not just as a country, but as individuals, as people. What is your life telling you? What keeps showing up in your life? What do you complain about over and over and over? So often that you don't even realize that you're complaining about it. Is it something physical? Is it something mental? Spiritual? Relational? Financial? What shows up in your life that you don't? Well, rather than just pushing that off till tomorrow and pushing that off to tomorrow and trying to duck and hide from it, instead is to capture this wave of energy, this tidal wave of energy that says, we can change stuff right now. We can change stuff right now. The stuff that you've always complained about, you've been complaining about for a while, you don't have to complain about it anymore. To take that energy that it takes to complain and to utilize that ball of energy into actually changing it, oftentimes we find that it took less energy to change it than it did to complain about it. But when the trail of breadcrumbs shows up in your life that says, well, I should do this, or I should take that action, or I should go here, or go there, or do this, or do that, or think this, or be that, we go, no, we'll just push it off till tomorrow. Well, we can't anymore. We're hitting that wall that says, we got to do something. We got to do something. Now, there's two different versions of this life thing. There's the us version, the human version. It says, I know what I want, and I think I know what it takes to get it. Right? Anybody relate to that? I think I know what it takes to get what I want. Are you getting what you want by doing that plan? Limited, a little bit? Okay? This is where we bring in God's help. This is where we work with the energy of this whole group, this whole county, this whole city, this whole state, this whole country, this whole world. And we work together to move milestones really, really quickly. It's the little things, the little trail of breadcrumbs, that bring the biggest difference. And from God's perspective, He often works with the us part. More concerned with the us part than the that part. And let me explain that. As Mary alluded to, when we were together the first time, we were together for about a year, maybe a little more, 2. Okay. A while. We were together for a minute. When Mary and I got together, she'd only been divorced about 6 months and was only partway through a healing process. And neither one of us had any business getting into the relationship that we did. But it was there, and it was good, and we liked each other, we loved each other, and we wanted to be happy. And what we found ourselves doing, especially during that last 6 months or last year, was a whole bunch of complaining. Complaining about the stuff inside of her that she wanted to change. complained about the stuff inside of me that I wanted to change. We've all heard the saying that you can't get there from here. Well, what we wanted was to be happy. And we knew that we could be because we liked each other, we loved each other, respected each other, attracted to each other, blah, 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 all these things. But we couldn't get there from here. We couldn't get there as who we were. Now what we were trying to do was draw a straight line from point A to point B that said, this is where we are and this is where we want to be. So this is how we can see to get there. God intervened. And God said, you don't yet have the toolbox to be who you want to be over here. And I do not yet have that toolbox to be who I need to be to actually be over here. And so all this time, this 6 months to a year that we kept putting Band-Aids on it and trying all the things we knew to try, the trail of breadcrumbs kept leading us to splitting up. And we said, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to follow that trail of breadcrumbs. How many times have you wanted something in your life, and things kept showing up in your life saying, do this, do this, do this, and you said, I don't want it. I don't want it. I want what that is going to provide, but I don't want to do it. Right? Anybody? Okay. Well, we were no different. Silly humans, every one of us. We saw this trail of breadcrumbs leading us apart, and we didn't want that because we wanted to be together and we wanted to be happy, and we could not possibly see how splitting up and moving 1,500 miles apart was going to accomplish us being together and being happy for a lifetime. Well, the only set of toolbox that we had at that point was how to be happy for a week, how to be happy for 2 weeks, maybe even how to be happy for a month on a good month. So we had to separate in order to get the toolbox that we needed to be happy together for a lifetime. And during that 8 months, boy, that wasn't pleasant.
No.
But it gave us what we needed for the lifetime that we wanted to have. When, around October, I had reached the heaviest that my physical body had been in this lifetime. I was about 235 pounds. And I said, I'm done. I'm done. The ending of old cycles, I'm done. And this little trail of breadcrumbs showed up. I said, okay, do this, do this, do this, do this. And I said, no, I don't want to do that. I just want to be thin. But I don't want to change anything I'm doing in my life. I just want to be thin. I'm thin now. Because when I closed my eyes, my self-image, I was a thin guy. When I opened my eyes, not so much. As long as I didn't move, I could convince myself I was a thin guy. But the instant I would try to get off the couch took 8 times more effort than I thought it should. And by the time I started to get off the couch, I realized that whatever I was going to do, I was now exhausted, so I'd do it later anyway. And so I kept asking, God, please help me be thin. And this little breadcrumb trail would show up. At some point, this is what I'm asking you to do today, is to look at that trail of breadcrumbs in your life. And I said, oh, okay, maybe I'll take this one. All right, my wife's a hypnotherapist, and she helps people reprogram their body and lose weight. Maybe I should say, okay, honey, what can you do for me? Which led me to the next breadcrumb that said, no more Dr. Pepper, go to Crystal Light. Small change, but okay, we can do it. And once I walked through that for about a week, then something else said, oh, your portion size. I started bumping into all these things about portion size and reading stuff on the internet about how the soldiers in the Civil War lived off this little biscuit called, was it cake? This little bitty biscuit. Hardtack, yeah. Little biscuit, and they would live off it for a month. A month, this one little biscuit. Amazing, these guys are marching, they're carrying stuff, they're fighting, they're doing all this stuff. One little biscuit for a whole month. And I could not understand how anybody could survive on less than a triple Whopper with cheese, no onion, large fry, extra large soda, and a 6-piece nugget. Because if you're gonna eat, you might as well be full. But this little breadcrumbs, this little trail of breadcrumbs led me to, oh, maybe I need to shrink my portion size. So I did that. And it led me to the next little breadcrumb, the next little breadcrumb. And my whole life I'd seen people who were overweight try a lot of stuff and work really hard and count calories and measure stuff and eat stuff they didn't want to eat, grapefruit and yogurt and all this stuff that they didn't even like. And I thought, oh, I don't want to do any of that. Well, I didn't. My trail of breadcrumbs led me to these simple, easy little things along the way. And as I followed that trail of breadcrumbs, my life and my body changed dramatically, and it's been easy. Easy. I'm now the same size that I was as a freshman in high school. And it was easy. I'm now married to Mary, and our life is really happy. And it wasn't easy. But because we resisted that trail of breadcrumbs, once we finally followed it, it didn't take long. We were apart for 8 months. When we came back together, poof. New and improved her, new and improved me. New and improved life together. The point, though, is that God looks at what we really want. And we look at what we think we want. We look at the short term of, I want this to be better. I want to be rich. I want to be thin. I want to be loved. I want to be more spiritual. Right? We want these things. And we think that it's just going to just show up. Here you go. It doesn't. It leads us, when we say, I want something, we say, I'm done complaining. Whatever I'm complaining about in my life is showing me something that needs my attention. That's it. That's it. So if it needs my attention, maybe I should give it my attention. And if I give it my attention, then to just do the same thing that I've always done, that hasn't worked for me in the past, is pretty ridiculous to think that if I get on that horse and try it one more time, the exact same thing I've always done, that I will get something different than I've always received. Right? But oftentimes, we feel disempowered. I can't do anything about it. That's just how I am. That's just how it is. I've come to accept that. And what I'm asking you to do instead is to follow that trail of breadcrumbs. First, to look for the trail of breadcrumbs. Think of one thing that you want in your life right now. Think of the thing in your life that you complain about the most, whatever that is. Whatever that is, that one thing you complain about the most. Now, if you close your eyes and you ask, what would be the first breadcrumb, the first thing that I could do to change this? What shows up? And as it shows up, you probably notice that it's shown up a lot. But it didn't make sense to us. And we didn't really want to do that. We wanted to do something different. And it wasn't supposed to be that way. And as humans, oftentimes when we're here and we're trying to get here and we wind up over here somewhere, we think we've done something wrong. Really want to make God laugh? Tell him never. That works. Right? Every success you have ever had has come from a failure in some way. Thomas Edison, it depends on how you look at it, Thomas Edison, who took 2,000 tries to come up with the filament of a light bulb. 2,000 tries, finally got it right. And somebody interviewed him and said, how does it feel to have failed 2,000 times before you got it right? And he said, I have never failed in my life. It was a 2,000-step process to come to the conclusion that I wanted. I learned 1,999 ways that did not work successfully. And I stopped when I got to the one that did. Right? We judge ourselves. And through that judgment, we disempower ourselves, because once I judge me, then I can feel bad about me, and then I can have a pity party about me, and then I can think bad things about me, and then I can attract and co-create more bad things, and it just is like this little flushing toilet, right? I know some of you, so I'm going to pick on you. Now, you know this is my mom, and she told me, going from here to here, I never want to get divorced. Never. I say I do, that's it. But then she told God, I want to be in a marriage and I want to be happy. And I want to be respected. And I want to be loved. And I want to be this. And I want to be this. Well, her first marriage, she wasn't there yet. She couldn't get there from here. Scared kid in high school, married, kid, all kind of stuff going on. She didn't have the toolbox yet. The person that she was married to didn't have that toolbox either. But that trail of breadcrumbs led her to here, and that trail of breadcrumbs led her to here, and that trail of breadcrumbs led her to here, and that trail of breadcrumbs led her to this guy.
Just like something.
But just like that song, The Broken Road, bless the broken road that led me to you. Every relationship I had ever been in on some level didn't work out and led me to her. Thank God it didn't work out in the past with other people, because I love so much what I have in my life right now. Now when we're doing this by ourselves, we can think, gosh, this is going to be tough. But it's not, especially when we have this tidal wave of energy wanting to propel us forward really fast, really easy. In fact, easier than it's been. Just like in the skit, your mind wants to work with you. Your body wants to work with you. Your feelings want to work with you. And God in the entire spiritual realm wants to work with you, are conspiring for your success. And because of that, right now, has that magical ability to manifest things very, very quickly in ways that you maybe never would have known, in ways that you maybe wouldn't have seen, and in ways that maybe didn't even make sense. Now this is a time in our lives to really evaluate. First, stop, look. What am I complaining about? Now, am I done complaining and ready to live something different? If I'm ready to live something different, I'm going to ask for a trail of breadcrumbs to show me how to get there. And then whether it makes sense to me or not, I'll follow it. I'll take the action step to follow it. And as I do, all of this energy rushes in to help me get to where I want to be. Much more quickly and much more easily, and have it turn out even better than. This is even better than I would have imagined. This is even better than you would have imagined. Think of something in your life that you thought you knew where you were going. When you got off track, you realized you didn't want it anyway. But you picked up a piece of yourself along the way that helped you to get to where you did want to be. But you couldn't have seen that from here. It's like saying you need to get over here, but you got to go to the end of the street to find the corner. But once you get to the end of the street and find the corner, realize you can only go this way, and then there's a fork in the road, and then there's a T, and then it goes this way, and then it goes that way. But until you walk it, you don't know. And how easy it can be, because you're not in it alone. You're not in it alone. Now with that, my understanding of the God that I know has an extreme sense of humor. And so when Mary and I talk and we pray and we think about what a service is going to be that week, it's not from a us and you perspective. It's from a, okay God, what do we got to learn here, man? Where are we at? Now when we were in this space before, we packed it, 35 people every Sunday. People parking 2-3 blocks away, which is why we moved into the new space. And the new space did really good until it started getting hot. And then it started shrinking a little bit, shrinking a little bit more. And there's been this transition time of coming back in here. And so I look around and I go, wow. But we're back in our spot. We've got our energy. We've got a great core group of people. God, why do I see empty chairs? What's that about? This is so cool. There should be more people knowing about it. There should be more of this. There should be more of that. God gave me a sign. Told me business as usual is not business as usual anymore. Don't expect people to just find you. Don't expect people to just hear about you. Don't expect people to just magically show up at your door. Maybe it's time to do something a little different. So in the past week or two, there's a new rock and crystal shop over on Courtney that just opened up. Kathleen, one of Mary's close friends, owns it. Mary helped paint the place, open it up, and she has been asking for a month for these little monthly things of what do y'all got going on Fridays and what do y'all got going on Sundays? Because I try to tell people and I don't know, could you drop some of these off? So then I heard about this new metaphysical store, bookstore, opened up also on South Courtney over by Pinch a Penny. And so here's this little trail of breadcrumbs that leads me into their door. And they said, yeah, man, this is a great thing. We've got these great rocks and crystals and books, and all our books are 50% off, and it's cool stuff. And we're going to have a grand opening, and we're going to have this, and we're going to have that. So we start talking, and they find out that I'm a published author of metaphysical books. And they say, well, hey, we'd like to talk to you about doing a book signing and our grand opening. And do you have anything about your church that will actually tell people what you're doing and when you're doing it? Because we get people in the door all day long. We would love to send to you because the closest place we have found that does what you do is in Palm Bay. Can you bring over some stuff and let us know? The swap meet in Port St. John. Kathleen also has a store there besides having the rock and crystal shop down here. And Mary used to do readings out of there for about a year. And they've been held on to one of these monthly calendar things from a year ago, and they're still showing it to people. Go here. We think it's here. We think it's this time. We think it's this place. Now, we've talked about, in the old place, creating a little business card size invite that can say, hey, this is who we are, this is what we do. And we're going to print it up for like 50 bucks for like 1,000 of these things, full color front and back, and then hand them out and say, hey, man, just stick it in a gas pump, hand it to a friend, do whatever, but make it really easy to invite people so you don't have to carry around a pocket full of these things. For the past 2 weeks since we moved in here, these things have been poof, 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 coming right up the end of my nose. Guess what I did?
Ignored it.
I don't have to do that.
I don't need to do all that. I know my family, I know connections, I know the people who come here, and I know that, my goodness, we bring our A game every week, and God, you're here, and it's without judgment, it's empowering, and it's good for folks. So they're just going to show up, and it's going to be a full house by next week, I just know it. Silly human. How about that? So, we come this morning, and I'm thinking, today is going to be a packed house, it's going to be back to life as it used to be, and it's going to be parking from 2 blocks, and it's going to be, and somewhere in the back of my head, I heard this little voice, I heard this little God feeling say, now Scott, I gave you this little list of things to do, I gave you this trail of breadcrumbs, just before you were going to give a lesson on a trail of breadcrumbs, but you outthought it, right? You're a little smarter than God was, you're really an intuitive person who really didn't need to pay attention to and actually take action on your intuition, because it was just going to magically change anyway, because you, even though you co-created, you brought to yourself this trail of breadcrumbs that maybe wasn't quite from point A to point B that you thought it was going to be. So believe me when I tell you that today's lesson is very much as much about me as it is about you. It's as much about all of us learning together. So I'm going to ask you to do me a favor right now. Stop in your day, close your eyes. We're actually going to use those silly tools that we know that work. I want all of you right now in your mind, in your mind's eye, to imagine, if you will, inviting in the energies of 3 friends. And imagine them sitting next to you. The folks who you think, oh gosh, I wish you'd have been here to hear this today, to experience this today. We invite in their energy, their soul. Now I ask that you invite in the energies of your guides, of your angels. And ask them if they know if their humans could have benefited from being here? And if so, ask your angels to talk to their angels and see how many folks show up. Now, regardless of how many of us are here in body, feel a full room of everybody that we just invited in. Not because of us, not because we need or we want or we desire a full room, but because they would benefit from being here and we would benefit from them being here. There would be a wonderful exchange of energy from us to them and for them to us. That we would feel better that they came, and they would feel better that they came. And that this group of us would be even more big, purposeful, passionate, and able to do more easily all of the things that we wanted to do. That we could be of service to these folks, and they could be of service to us. Take a deep breath in and out. And I thank you. I thank you for doing that. Because I honestly believe, and I know the folks in this family, that darn near anybody would be happy to have met you, to have spent time with you, to have learned from you, to have shared with you, to have got to know you. Of course, you too. Now, I can tell you that as I'm asking you this next week, to pay attention to the things that are in your life that you find yourself complaining about. That you put down that thing. And instead ask for a trail of breadcrumbs to show up. And when you do, I'm here to tell you that this next week I will be following the trail of breadcrumbs that I co-created with God in my life. And we will be going to the places that kept showing up right at the end of my nose. And we will be passing these out. And we will be networking with some of these folks. And because we know a lot of the folks that have been here in the past, we've had up to, I believe, about 150 people in through the door since we started a year ago. Personal phone call, a personal email. Hey dude, how you been? Hey lady, I've missed you. You want to swing back through? How's your world been? All these little things, all these little trail of breadcrumbs this week are going to be implemented. We've got an online family through that little recorder thing in the back. We've had 9,000, I believe, people check out our YouTube videos. And many of them have said, if you had a live service, I would tune in every Sunday and be part of it live. And so we put up this koi pond in the backyard a couple weeks ago, well, about a year ago. But anyway, we did the mulch and whatever. Put the pictures on Facebook. And a friend of mine, Christopher Timms, a mystic, a psychic in the area, showed up at my house, said, I saw the pictures of your koi pond on Facebook, and it really looks like you could use some rocks on it. I got a truck full of granite with this cool crystal in it. Do you want it? Yeah, man, thanks. So he's bringing it over. We're putting it all around the pond. There's back there. You can meditate at. It's beautiful. He said, now Scott, I do this school called the Mystery School, Blue Light Mystery School, and Blue Star. And he said, normally I travel the country doing these things, and I do one class a month, and it's a 12-month mystery school. And so I have to go from this place to this place to this place to this place, and then we're back at day, now we're at class 2, and this place and this place and this place. And back here, and he said, and when I do that, the most I can have in my class is about 10 to 12 people. So I bumped into this video software that allows me to broadcast it live through the internet. In my last class on Friday, I tried it. I had a class of 60 people across the world, across the country. Went, dude, wow. But how quickly things changed when he followed his trail of breadcrumbs, then his trail of breadcrumbs led him over to me, and he went, hey, there's breadcrumb. So this week we'll also be working on making that live so that our online family can be here with us live instead of just recording. So do it with me if you will, please. Look at the trail of breadcrumbs, and rather than turning your back or thinking you're smarter than it, or you don't really need it, or you can put it off till tomorrow, I ask you to join me in this journey this week. Look at the trail of breadcrumbs and take action on each breadcrumb that you pick up.